Why do we love overcomplicating things? Now, I asked that question because recently I came across two to-do lists from two incredibly famous people. One from one of my all-time favorite singers and one from an all-time favorite singer of many people. The first one I came across was Johnny Cash, the legendary country and western singer and part of one of my favorite groups, the Highwaymen. And I came across this actual to-do list and I absolutely loved it. And it's what actually got me thinking about why have we overcomplicated things. Now, if you look at this list, we've got simple things like not smoke, kiss June, June was his wife, not kiss anyone else, cough, pee, eat, not eat too much, worry. I don't know why he's got worry on his to-do list, but go see mama, go see his mother, practice piano and not write notes. Now, I'm not sure why he put not write notes, and practicing piano would be a natural thing for a singer. Well, perhaps a guitar maybe, but anyway, this is Johnny Cash. What I love about this is he clearly, on this particular day, he clearly had an idea about what he was going to do. Now, it could be to write music, practice music, whatever it was. There was something big that's not on this list. And it didn't need to be on the list because he knew he was going to do it. These were kind of the things that he just needed to remind himself about. And that's what a to-do list was always and should always be about. Now, the second to-do list that I came across was John Lennon's. Now, John Lennon, handwriting is not so easy to write. But once again, it's a simple list which sort of like just tells him like things that he needs to know about that day. For instance, the top one here is HBO guy coming between 3 to 5. Be there. Again, it's just that little reminder that he needs to be at a specific place and doing something between 3 and 5. I also noticed quite funnily that John Lennon, and I've seen other to-do lists from John Lennon which are very similar to this, where he actually just always tends to write his shopping list on there. So we've got marmalade on there, and I've seen things where he's got broccoli and blueberries and all sorts of other things in there. But if you look at these lists, they are perfect. In my mind, they are perfect to-do lists. Because one of the problems that we have is we just love to overcomplicate things. Now, I write books, and so do many, many other people. And the application I use is called Scrivener. Now, Scrivener is an interesting app, and I should just point out that Scrivener is also used by Ryan Holiday, Cal Newport, Mark Manson, and Stephen Kotka, just to name a few who actually use Scrivener. Scrivener is almost like the industry standard for writing books these days. But the thing about Scrivener is it updates its applications now every probably 3 to 5 years. Between those times goes completely silent. Now, the thing is, the application works. It's very cheap, by the way. You can pick this application up for, I think it's about less than $100 anyway, and it's a lifetime purchase. It's not a subscription. But the great thing about Scrivener is because it doesn't change very often, it's so simple to use. Once you've written one book in it, you can write hundreds of books in it because it's never going to change significantly. So your settings stay the same. There's no additional things just to complicate things. It does the job it's designed to do. I love Scrivener, and I've written all my books from the very first book I wrote, which was in Korean back in 2009, right through to Your Time, Your Way, which was published last year or 2 years ago. This is the writing standard. It's simple, it's easy to use once you know how to use it, and you can just write in it. I know I can confidently come to it, which presumably that's why Cal Newport, Steve Kotka, Ryan Holiday, all these people come back to Scrivener to write their books because of the way that it works. It works well, and it doesn't need to be constantly updating. Now, most of the other apps I use, particularly Evernote and Todoist, they're constantly updating, adding new features. That pressure from consumers to be always adding more and more and more. And that is what causes all the complication. I mean, we don't need start and due dates, tags and labels and subtasks and lots of lists. Whenever I create a to-do list, the only to-do list that matters is your list of things to do today. One of the things that I've always go with my workshops and also in my coaching programs is to point out that all the additional lists that you create in any task manager, they're just holding pens for stuff that's already been processed that doesn't need to be done necessarily today. The only list that matters is the list of things that you have to do today. That's it. All the other lists are just superfluous. You don't really need them because things are changing very, very, very fast. You know that. We all know that. Things now change faster than we can actually manage. So really, the one list, the one list that matters every day is your list of things that need to be done today. But there is a problem here, and that is most people are wasting so much time in the lists that they've created for themselves, and they're not focusing on the today list. Now, I suspect this is because they don't like what they see in their today list, and they'll go into the other list looking for easier things to do. But that's not how to-do lists should be working. What you want to be doing is curating that today list, ideally the night before, because you will find that you sleep better and you're much more focused when you start the day. If you don't do it the day before, what will happen is the next morning you'll come up and you have to create your today list, and then you're going down a rabbit hole. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, and your list will be enormous. If you do it the night before, you're much more likely to be a bit more practical, and you'll start thinking, right, I've got time to do this, I've got time to do that. It's almost like you can step back when you do it the night before, but when you do it the morning, that next morning, it's like, oh, I've got to get my stuff done. And there's a bit more sense of stress and panic, which means you end up putting way more on that list than you need to. Now, interestingly, in John Lennon's to-do list, he has an appointment at the top of the list. And I find that quite interesting because traditionally we've always put appointments and things that absolutely have to be done into our diaries. Now remember, back then they weren't using the digital calendars that we use today. Back in the 70s and 80s, they were using either a desk diary if you worked in an office, perhaps a pocket diary that you carried around in your pocket. That's where you would write down the things that absolutely had to be done. And there was a logical, and still is a logical reason for that, is because whatever you need to do, it requires time. Now, yesterday I washed my car. Now, I can't magically wash my car. Now, in my case, I enjoy washing my car, so I took it to the car wash center myself, and I got the, paid and did the hosing and the wiping down and the vacuuming out. Loved it. But it needed time. I needed a good hour to do that, and I scheduled that on my calendar. It wasn't a to-do list, because if I'd left it on my to-do list, it would never have happened. I would have just found an excuse. No, I'm not in the mood to leave the house and drive to the car wash center. No, I had to make it an appointment on my calendar so that it did happen. Now that meant that all I had to do was say, oh, okay, today I've got to go to the supermarket. The car wash centre's near to the supermarket, I'll combine the two. And that's what I did. Now that's kind of what I call mapping out your day. Now yesterday was a public holiday in Korea, so it was pretty easy to do that. But that's what we would put on our calendar. If I put wash car on my to-do list, it would never happen, because I would think, oh no, I won't do that now, I'll do this and I'll do that. To-do lists are there for the things that should be done, but the calendar is telling you where you need to be and when you are going to do the critical things that need to be done. That's exactly how I'm presuming Johnny Cash did it, and certainly maybe in most cases John Lennon. If he needed to be in the recording studio, if either of them needed to be in the recording studio, it would have been on their calendar. It wouldn't have been on a to-do list. So if you're finding yourself overwhelmed and feeling under pressure, not just because of the long lists of stuff that you have to do, remember, you can't do everything all in one day, perhaps not even in 1 week. But what you can do is create your daily list. Focus on that daily list. What is it that you can and should be doing today? That's all that really matters. Now, the key step to this is to make sure that where possible, you plan the day before. Now, I know if you are an early bird, perhaps you could do it at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But you'll still find it's better to do it the night before, because you end up enjoying the evening much more because your day is planned. You know what needs to be done tomorrow. I knew when I finished my work here yesterday, I was going to be recording these YouTube videos. I made my notes. I had them ready on my desk when I came through into the office this morning. That's how you planning the day before. That's how it works, because I now then, when I settled down last night, I had nothing else to worry about. I knew I was recording the videos. I also knew that I had my notes ready and I was good to go. So that's really the key message this week, is to look not at your task list and the endless lists and projects that you may have got in there. They don't really matter on a daily basis. What matters on a daily basis is what you have decided must or should be done today. If it must be done today, make sure you've got time allocated for it. Perhaps use your calendar for that. If it should be done, keep it in your to-do list, but make sure that you're doing everything in your power to get that done each day, so that you're not building backlogs all the time. So I hope you found this useful. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about how I do all this setup, then I have recently done 2 videos on this, and I would suggest this video up here is definitely the one to watch next.